Hello. Today we will work on the lesson number 10 of the esoteric teachings from the High School of Spiritual Science, how it was given by Rudolf Steiner in German in the year 1924. And I will begin the lesson with the first word. O man, know yourself. So resounds the word. You hear it, soul powerful. You feel it, spirit wasteness. Who speaks so world fastly? Who speaks so felt heartily? Does it act through space, distant radiation? In your senses being experience? Does it sound through time's wave weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you yourself who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling foreign, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking, losing in the time-destroying stream? Lesson number 10. My dear friends, for esoteric development, the true path of knowledge, the individual must find the way to understanding what it means to live in a world in which the sense, the whole physical organization, is not a facilitator, that is, to live with the psychic, spiritual, which is man's true identity, in a spiritual world. In order to do so, there are many different, more or less meditative exercises, mental exertions, meant to affect the soul, and to give a picture of what a human soul can pass through on the way from experiencing the physical sensory world to experiencing the spiritual world, is what will be provided in these class lessons by means of various considerations, and the summarizing of such considerations in individual verses, which may then be meditated upon according to each member's possibilities and needs. Once a certain time has passed, the communications given in these class lessons, which, as I have often stressed, are real communications from the spiritual world, will coalesce in such a way that those who have participated, it is also karma for those who could be here, will have a complete picture of the first stage of esoteric development. As a result of the various indications which are given here, we can gradually rise above our earthly existence to an experience of the cosmos. We can develop the feeling which carries us out into those distant reaches of the universe from which the spiritual comes to meet us. But as long as we confine ourselves to using our senses and reason only in connections with the sense-perceptible world which surrounds us, it will be impossible for us to grasp what the spiritual world reveals as the truth accessible to man. You see, my dear friends, as I have often stressed, human common sense can understand everything offered by anthroposophy if it exerts itself sufficiently and is free of prejudice. But it is just in reference to this common sense where a touchstone exists concerning whether or not someone is really destined by the karma nowadays to participate in anthroposophy. There are two possibilities. One is that the person hears about anthroposophical truths, let them work on him and considers them to be self-evident. It is obvious that everyone sitting here today belongs to that group. For if someone who does not belong to that group wishes to participate in a lesson as a member, it would not be honest of them. And honesty is the most important aspect of esoteric life. Complete truthfulness penetrating the human soul and spirit. There is another group of people who find what is presented by anthroposophy to be fantastic, somehow belonging only to visionaries. These people show by their behavior that they are not able, according to their karma, to sufficiently separate common sense from physicality, and the sense to be able to grasp sense-free truth, sense-free knowledge. It is therefore the extent to which common sense is bound to corporeality or not, which determines such a great divergence between people. For if you honestly consider that you possess a common sense which understands anthroposophy, then at the moment it grasps anthroposophy honestly, it does so independently of corporeality. And this healthy common sense which grasps anthroposophy honestly is the beginning of esoteric striving. And we should treasure the fact that healthy common sense which understands anthroposophy is the beginning of esoteric striving. If it should not be overlooked, for when one starts with this understanding through healthy common sense, and then follows the indications given in the appropriate school, one proceeds farther and farther along the esoteric path. You can use whichever of the verses provided here which you consider appropriate for you, but you should apply them together with the indications as to how they relate to the inner life of man. Today I would like to again provide an indication of how you can leave the body if only by means of so slight a jolt that you don't even realize it. We should develop the ability to observe and study the minerals and plants in our environment to the extent what we feel them within. If only by means of thinking and become truly aware of how this earthly environment is related to us, that due to our wearing of physical body, we are directly related to the mineral, vegetable and animal kingdoms around us. And then we ask the question in all honesty, why did I absorb the physical substances of the earth just by being born? Why do I drag myself through life from birth till death in order to end physical life once my organism is no longer able to possess its physical elements? We must deeply feel our relationship to our physical environment, starting from such a personal enigma. Then, however, we will also feel more and more what the starting point of esoteric life can be. Then we feel that in physical earthly life we are blindly groping in the dark. And finally, my dear sisters and brothers, consider the people of today who have been placed in earthly life after birth and educating according to the usual methods and called to this or that work to purely external circumstances. They do not understand the relationship of this work to the totality of human existence. Perhaps they do not know much more than that they work in order to eat. They do not realize that in the plants they eat cosmic forces from the distant boundaries of the universe are present which pass through the human organism and therefore in a certain sense undergo a cosmic evolution. Many people today cannot even begin to glimpse the process due to the materialism of the time, but do admit that by the mere consideration of earthly relationships one stands spiritually blind in life and lives in the dark. That is the starting point of true esoteric development. And then change the direction of your gaze from the surrounds you on the earth to the star-studded heaven. Either in thoughts or, if you really want to be affected by it in reality, behold the plants, behold the stars. Fill yourself with the infinite transcendence of what shines back to you from the universe and say to yourself, as human being, we are related just as much to what radiates down from the universe as we are to what surrounds us in the physical environment. Then by gazing up to the star-studded heaven, we really have the feeling that we do not live in darkness, but that we are freed from live in the darkness by rising with our soul spiritual being to the stars. Rise to what the stars represent as picture in their constellation, and you see if we can really enter meditating into the vision of the star-filled sky, it becomes a plenitude of imaginations. You know the old pictures in which not only the constellations have been painted, but in which they have been recapitulated symbolically as animals, not only the star groups that is in Aries or in Taurus has been represented, but also some symbolic images of the ram and the bull are included. Today, people think, well, it was arbitrary on the part of that innocent inhabitants of the earth, that just because the constellations were so named that the corresponding pictures were added. But that was not the case at all. In reality, in ancient times, the shepherds in the fields did not merely gaze up at the star-studded sky with physical eyes, but also in dream consciousness or sleep consciousness. Out there with their flocks, they turned their soul with closed eyes towards outer space. They did not see these constellations which physical eyes see, but they actually perceived those pictures, those images, imaginations which fill universal space, albeit somewhat differently from what was later painted. We can no longer go back to what the simple shepherds experienced by instinctive clairvoyance, but we can do something else with far greater thoughtfulness. We can imagine ourselves into the star-filled sky. We can feel the depth at the same time the some majesty of what radiates back to us. And gradually we can come to a sense of veneration for what is expanding out there in cosmic space. And the more ardent the veneration is, the more clearly can the experience be that the outer sense images of the stars disappear and the star-filled sky become an imagination for us. But only then, when the star-filled sky becomes an imagination for us, do we feel ourselves carried away by our soul's vision. You see, still in Plato's time, one felt something special about the physical eye when it is observing. Plato himself described seeing as follows: when I look at a person, something leaves my eyes and encompasses him. People in ancient times sensed that something streams out of the eye and encompasses the object. The etheric streams out, just as when I stretch out my hand and grasp something. I know that I am connected to my hand until reaching the grasp object. So in the time of instinctive clairvoyance, people know that something etheric goes out from the eye and encompasses the thing looked at. Today, people think, well, the eye is here, the object seen is there, so the object sends out either waves which drum against the eye, and the drumming is perceived by some kind of soul, about which even the materialist talks about here, but without having any idea of what it is, but that is not true. It is not a mere impact on the person emanating from the object, but really also an emanation of the person's inner etheric substance. And we perceive our ether body as belonging to the universe when the star-filled sky become for us the grand open page of the universe on which the imaginative secrets of cosmic being are written, if we are able to read it. And then the feeling becomes to us, when you are here on earth, you are in a robust sense perceptible reality, but you are blind. You live in the darkness. When you rise up with your sensibility, then you live in what otherwise only shines down to you from the distant universe. And you live in the illusion of the distant universe. But at the same time you take your own etheric being out into the distant flooding stream of this illusionary world. And the illusion ceases to be illusion. It cannot be nothing if we immerse ourselves in it. When we have this feeling, I will draw it. We live as a blind people in the darkness of earthly existence. It will be drawn a white arc. Then we journey out into the distant universe. From the arc, the yellow rays coming up outside of the arc, at the end of which we can feel the cosmic imaginations by means of reverence for the brilliance of the stars. There will be drawn red waves above the arc and above the rays. So now that we have journeyed out, we are together with our etheric being within the imaginative cosmic web. If we can accomplish this, then we are no longer in the physical body. We have traveled through the etheric emptiness to experiencing the cosmic imaginations. You see, it's like when in the physical world someone writes something down, and because we have learned to read, we read it. By being out in the cosmic, the gods have written the cosmic imaginations for us in the cosmos. When we arrive, we see the imaginations from the other side. Now there will be drawn arrows from the outside in the direction of the red waves and the arc. At first, we live here on the earth in that inner white circle. Then we draw ourselves up to the cosmic imaginations, which are the outer wave circle with the red waves. Yes, my dear friends, my sisters and brothers, the zodiac speaks a meaningful language when we do not observe it from the earth. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, but rather when we encircle it from without. And it is a task of our consciousness in encircle it from without. Then we begin to read the cosmic secrets, which are the deeds of the spiritual beings, in a novel we read of the deeds of man. When we look at the zodiac from the other side and read what from the earth we see virtually from behind, as Moses was told that he always had not look at God from behind, that is, from the earth. Initiating consists of seeing from the other side, not a matter of waking, but of reading. And what we read are the spiritual deeds of the spiritual beings who brought it all about. And when we have silently read long enough, when our soul have concentrated deeply on this reading, then we begin to hear in a spiritual way. Then the God speaks with us. When the God speaks with us, we are within the spiritual world. Now you see, my dear sisters and brothers, the initiate can tell you the soul can rise up to the cosmic heights, receive the cosmic imaginations, read them from the other side. The spiritual deeds become capable of hearing in a spiritual way the languages of the gods. But if you really immerse yourself in what the initiate relates with your whole heart, your whole feeling, if you don't just listen to it greedily and say, well, if I also could do that, I'd like it, I would be interesting, but I'm not going to bother. But you receive it as something which you can revere, which you can love, which you can repeatedly meditate on, then it is a path to enter esoteric life yourself. And you will find this path by meditating profoundly on the words. And they will be also written on board. First, I live in the dark earth domain. Second, I weave in the shine of the stars. Third, I read in the Spirit's deeds. Fourth, I hear in the God's speech. When experienced with the necessary deeply meditative feelings, this works wonders in the human soul, transforms the human soul. It must rhythmically flow through the soul again and again, for it leads the human being through his own interior cosmic being. But it is necessary that such a thing be deeply interiorized, and even though it still speaks more to the head, the heart should also participate in the whole process of going out into the etheric universe, then into the spiritual universe, that is, on the other side of the universe. It is necessary in such a process that we take our hearts with us in the experience, and that it stimulate in you the feeling which can come quite naturally by the excursion into the outer universe. But these feelings must be really stimulated. It is therefore good they look deeply into what the words say. I live in the dark earth's domain. I weave in the shine of the stars. I read in the Spirit's deeds. I hear in the God's speech. Then you try to imagine that someone is speaking to you from a spiritual depth, as though you were not thinking it, but as though you were hearing it, as if another being were speaking. You really imagine that another being is speaking to you from an unknown depth. Then you try to develop the right feeling for what you have heard. These feelings live in the second part of the verse. The second part will be written on the board. 5. Longing makes me the earth's darkness. 6. Solace is to me the shine of the stars. When I am aware that I live blindly in the darkness of earth, I long to get out. Then the shine, the brilliance of the stars become the solace, the comforter, which expands my being. The shine of the star is solace to me. Now from the other side. 7. Teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds. When I read them. 8. Creating is me, the God's speech. Only you must use it correctly. Imagine yourself vividly in this meditating which you are doing, as though someone were speaking to you from spiritual depths is how you hear the lines of the first verse. You bring the corresponding feeling to each verse, so that you experience in the meditation. First, listen, then bring feeling, listen, then bring feeling, and so on. And now an arc will be drawn, connecting the lines 1 and 5, the lines 2 and 6, the next arc connecting 3 and 7, and the next arc connecting line 4 and 8. Living in the dark earth domain, connected with longing, makes me the dark earth darkness. I weave in the shine of the stars, connected with solace is to me the shine of the star. I read in the Spirit's deed, will be connected with teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds. I hear in the God's speech, will be connected with creating is me, the God's speech. It is a meditation in dialogue, in which you always objectify the first line, but the second you feel as though streaming out of your heart. Now you try again to visualize how one acts and weaves into the other, and then try to feel with your will what you can experience through the dialogue. The third part of the verse is arranged in connection with the first and the second parts, while line 9, 10, 11 and 12 will be written on the board. From the depths of spirit resounds, I live in the dark earth domain. The heart replies, longing makes me the earth's darkness. And now the will senses the impulse in the dialogue between line 1 and 5. 9. The earth's darkness extinguishes me. After this dialogue that has taken place, we recall the connection of line number 2 and 6. I weave in the shine of the stars. Soleth is to me the shine of the stars. 10. The shine of the stars awakens me. Afterwards we recall what resounds from the spiritual depth to the heart's reply. I read in the Spirit's deeds. Teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds. The will now senses. 11. The Spirit's deeds call me into the spiritual world. And now the most sublime, where we feel ourselves in dialogue with the gods themselves, where the gods not only let us read but speak. I hear in the gods' speech. Creating is me, the God's speech. 12. The speech of the gods creates me, brings me forth, engenders me. Now imagine the whole meditation. It runs as following. Dialogue, line for line, with a spiritual being present in the dim spiritual depth that always speaks, the top line of the verse, and the heart always replies. I live in the dark earth's domain. Longing makes me the earth's darkness. I weave in the shine of the stars. Solace is to me the shine of the stars. I read in the Spirit's deeds. Teaching to me are the Spirit deeds. I hear in the God's speech. Creating is me, the God's speech. Now I recall each one and add the outpouring of will as a remembrance of what had just gone before. I live in the dark earth's domain. Longing makes me the earth's darkness. The earth's darkness extinguishes me. I breathe in the shine of stars. Solace is to me the shine of the stars. The shine of the stars awakens me. I read in the Spirit's deeds. Teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds. The Spirit's deeds call me. I hear in the God's speech. Creating is me the God's speech. The speech of the gods creates me. Conviction results from the dialogue in meditation, from recalling the dialogue, in strengthening the recollections by means of the will. If firstly with inner devotional feeling, secondly with complete soul and interest we have done what I have just described, if we do it not as mechanical meditating, but as a true experience of the soul, then this means of creating a relation to the spiritual world really does have an awakening effect on the soul. Also in the case of the last verse, which in the way I have described should really be experienced as remembrance of speech and answering speech, speech of the spirit and answering speech of the heart, we must correctly feel how, firstly, consciousness, which we wish to achieve, as extinguished by the earth's darkness. We must sense how a moment of extinguishing sleep overcomes consciousness, and how upon awakening, at the second line, we hear the spirits calling us to them, how afterward we feel the spirits have called us so that they can bring us forth, engender us in the spiritual world by their own cosmic word. If these nuances of inner experience flow through the soul, and the representations of the spiritual being who speaks to us are included, and the heart reciprocates with its dedication to the spiritual being, then, yes, then the stimulation exists in the soul, which will gradually lead the soul onto the esoteric path. And we must be clear that as we experience these three verses in our souls, in the way in which I have described as best we can, something powerful takes place in the subconscious mind. If we sincerely live in these three verses as I have described, Then, when the first line resounds, our soul unconsciously passes through the starting point of earthly life. Then the etheric body was first formed. If we can vividly imagine what from the spirit resounds. I live in the dark earth domain. Then we approach in the unconsciousness with this hearing in the spirit, the moment in which our etheric body was formed, and from pre-earthly existence, from life between death and new birth, acts the force with which we sincerely reply from the heart. Longing makes me the earth's darkness, because we have the longing for the spiritual as a heritage from pre-earthly existence. And again we are transported to the beginning of earthly existence, and what acts from our hearts is inspired by the previous earthly existence. I weave in the shine of the stars, transported to the beginning of our earthly life, the real comfort of the shine of the stars can give when we are transported back in our heart's reply. Solace is to me the shine of the stars. I read in the Spirit's deeds, transported back to the earth's beginning. Remember how we are thought by spiritual beings in pre-earthly existence. Teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds, among whom I lived and wandered before I descended to the earth. I hear in the God's speech. We heard them during the period between death and a new birth. We sense that what they gods say is not mere information as is what men say. We realize that the speech of the gods is creative. Creating is me the God's speech. But then, if we can see it so, line number 9, 10, 11 and 12 also acquire the correct meaning. I live in the dark earth's domain. Longing makes me the earth's darkness. And the line 9 is written again, this time on the arc connecting line 1 and 5. The earth's darkness extinguishes me, delates me from my present earth's life, for I am led back through the region between death and a new birth to my earthly incarnation. I divine this, therefore my consciousness is extinguished, for my consciousness was until now, that if of my current incarnation in this moment of sleep, I am transported back so I can divine. I am wandering in my previous incarnation. I'm weaving in my previous incarnation. I weave in the shine of the stars. Solace is to me the shine of the stars. And the line 10 is written again at the arc connecting line 2 and 6. The shine of the stars awakens me. I am brought back to what I was in the previous incarnation, as though awakened in it. My karma arises before me, the connection of destiny arises before me. It arises before me from the other side. I read in the Spirit's deeds. Teaching to me are the Spirit's deeds. Line number 11 is written again at an arc connecting lines 3 and 7. The Spirit's deeds call me to fulfill my karma with the forces which derive from my previous earth life. I hear in the God's speech, creating is me, the God's speech. Line number 12 is written again at the arc connecting line 4 and 8. The speech of the gods creates me. Everything I am become clear to me when my early earthly existence penetrates the present one and shines through it and wanders through it and pulses through it and weaves through it. For here I am. My present I is in a process. It is a seed which will have meaning once I have passed through the gates of death. What shines and works in me from the previous earthly existence into the present one makes me into a human being, engenders me as an existent human being. If we have the conviction that it is so, that also we believe only to be in the ordinary world of physical existence, our soul really makes a journey back to the previous earth's life. Then we will be aware of the gravity of what we are experiencing, and through this awareness, a warmer, luminous current streams through our thinking, feeling and willing. And with that inner magical feeling, which is necessary for the meditation to work in the right way, our meditation will prevail. We may call it a magical feeling, for it cannot be compared with any feeling we have on earth, because it is completely independent of all corporeality. If we cannot yet leave the physical body behind with our thinking, this magical thinking which we experience through the gravity of our soul's activity is present in the purely spiritual world. According to the way we experience these things, our esoteric striving is fulfilled. And that is what I was obligated to lay before your souls today, my dear sisters and brothers. And at the end I will speak again about number 1. O man, know yourself. So resounds the word. You hear it soul powerful. You feel its spirit vastness. Who speaks so world vastly? Who speaks so felt heartily? Does it act through space distant radiation? In your senses being experience? Does it sound through time's weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you yourself who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling foreign, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking, losing in the time-destroying stream? Thank you very much.